Okay, I got ahead of myself a little bit in the last video. This is where we're going to start putting, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, um, into action with our uh, order of operations. So let's talk about simplifying an expression. We talked about in the last video, an expression does not have an equal sign. So we're not solving. All we can do is tidy it up the best we can. And in order to do that, we need to please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Yeah, actually, I like how they've written it here, because it displays that multiplication and division are tied. And I mentioned in the last video, if they're tied, we're going to work from left to right. And then addition and subtraction are also tied, so we'll work from left to right there. Now, parentheses really refers to any grouping symbol, so we have to deal with those first. Now, let's just talk through some of these. So it really matters. You'll get a totally different answer if you don't follow the order of operations. Let's see what they've done here. So as we look through here, please excuse, I got no parentheses, no exponents. Now multiplication needs to come first. So I've got to do the 3 times 7. I get 21. Now addition is last, my dear Aunt Sally. A is for aunt. So add that up as 25. Now if you had done that the other way around, you would have had 7 first times 7. That's not the same. Okay, on B here, we've got a grouping symbol. So please, parentheses, we got to do that first. Tidy that up, we get 7. Now, when these are sitting, when these are sitting next to each other, that means multiplication. So please excuse my, well, there's only one thing left to do. We'd get 49. Okay, so multiplication comes before subtraction. So I've got 12 minus 10. 12 minus 10 is 2. Now this is parentheses, it's got to come first. So I'm going to work on that first. I get a 7 in there. Now once I'm done, now it's showing the multiplication, but there's only one thing left to do, then we do the 14. Okay, I always recommend you pause the video if you want to work it yourself. I'm going to just keep working. So multiplication here is first. So I got to do 3 times 9. Now once that's done, there's only one thing left to do, so okay, grouping symbol comes first, so I've got to make that 11 times 9 first. Now, it was in parentheses, but once we've done the addition in there, it's not really necessary, but we'll leave it. We've got 11 times 9 is 99. All right, they're going to make these increasingly complicated. So, as we look through here, please excuse, parentheses has got to be first. So we've got to do the 5 minus 2 first. Now, next we have division and multiplication. Even though it's not showing the dot there, this is multiplication. So what do? Well, we need to go left to right. So we're going to do this first. And now we're going to take care of that multiplication on the right. We get 12. Put those together, we get 5. Okay, so parentheses has to be the first one. Okay, now we've got division and multiplication, because even though there's not a dot, it's multiplication. So I'm going to divide this. I'm going to get 6. And I'd really recommend you don't do 2 steps at the same time. But that's where students get lost all the time. Just take your time, do 1 step. So this multiplication comes next. We add those up, we get 16. Okay, pause it if you don't want to see me work it yet. Now, parentheses comes first. So that's going to be 4. Okay, now we've got division and multiplication next, but they're tied, so we're going to go left to right. 70 divided by 10 is 7. Okay, I'm going to just show you 1 step at a time so you don't make a mistake. All right, so now we have multiplication next. So over here is multiplication. Finally, we can add them up. We get 23. All right, things are getting really complicated, and we have multiple grouping symbols, so that's like parentheses. But I have a parentheses inside of a parentheses. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to work my way from the inside out. So this is the place I start first, because of multiple grouping symbols, I have to work inside the house to work my way out. So they're tidying in here in red first and getting 2. Okay, now we're inside this bracket and we got to work our way out of there. Well, I've got 6 minus 3 times 2, so that has to come next. That becomes 6. Now, I'm still working on a grouping symbol, and 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay, now, even though, yeah, this is wise of them, even though this is going to turn out to be 0, let's follow the order. So we've tidied up the grouping symbols. Next is exponents. So 2 to the third is 8. Now, all we have left is multiplication, so we're doing the 3 times 0, which is 0. Now, we have a bunch of addition. Now, plus 0 doesn't really mean anything, but we have 2 additions, so we're going to work left to right. That gets us 13, plus 0 is just 13. Okay, so we are going to work inside of the bracket first. And then we're going to work our way out. So there's a parenthesis inside of there, so that's our top priority. We get this. Now, we're still not done on the grouping symbols, so we have to do more. Okay, so we're cleaning that up in there. It's 48. All right, now, next is exponents. So I need 5 to the third, which is 5 times 5 times 5. So I've got 9 plus 125 minus that 48. Okay, now this bracket, everything's been cleaned out of there. You can leave a bracket if maybe there was a multiplication on the outside, but there's no multiplication, so this isn't really necessary anymore. So I'm going to just take it off. Okay, now I've got addition and subtraction are both left, but they're tied, so I'm going to go left to right, and I'm going to get 134 minus 48. And if I subtract those two, I get 86. Okay, let's work all the way inside the grouping symbol first. This is where we have to begin. So I'm going to add those together and I get 6. Now we're still not done with grouping symbols. So I'm going to work inside of there. Get 24. Okay, now I'm not going to get rid of this time because this means multiplication. So I'm going to hold on to that. Now exponents is next, so I've got 49 minus 2 times 24. Okay, so I've got multiplication over here. They're sitting next to each other. So I've got 49 minus 2 times 24 is 48. Nothing left but subtraction. I get 1. Okay, so now we're going to evaluate an expression. What they mean is they're going to tell us the value of the missing number, and in which case we're going to be able to clean it up and clean it all the way up. So we're not solving an equation. It didn't have an equal sign, but they're telling us the missing value, so we're going to put in the missing value. And evaluating is a very important idea in algebra. And so when you sub in, I'm going to replace x with the number 5. And when you do, I'm going to put that in parentheses. I'm going to sub in the 5. That tells me I took out the x and I'm subbing in the 5. Okay, so if I multiply those, I get 35 minus 4, get 31. So remember, multiplication would be first. Okay, now we're subbing in, taking out the x, and in its place we're putting a 1. I'm going to show it in parentheses, which means multiplication, so that comes first. 7 minus 4 is 3. Okay, we're subbing in a 2. Now that's multiplication, so I've got 16 minus 3, got 13. Okay, we're subbing in a 1. We're doing it again with different numbers. This is multiplication. I get 5. Okay, try this on your own if you want to pause the video. I'm going to sub in a 3. It's multiplication. I've got 12 minus 4 is 8. Okay, let's go again. This time we're subbing in a 5. That's 20 minus 4, 16. All right, now we've got some expressions this time, but this time we've got some exponents involved. So they're a little more complicated, but nothing really changes. I'm subbing in. Now I would have liked to see them. Yeah, I'm going to do this like this. I'm subbing in for x. I'm putting in parentheses. So I'm subbing in a 4 and I'm going to square it. That's 16. Now the reason that was important comes later. So it may not have mattered, but it will eventually. Okay, now I'm subbing in. Look at this next one. I'm subbing in for an x and it becomes the exponent. Think of it. I'm subbing it in like that. So this is now 3 to the 4th, which if I'm correct turns out to be 81. Okay, I'm subbing in for the x with the 3. So that's 3 times 3, that's 9. Now I'm subbing in for the 4, or subbing in for the x with the 3. So that's 4 times 4 times 4. 64, I believe. Okay, same thing. Subbing in a 6, taking it to the 3rd. Okay, I don't know that one, so let me get that. Get 216. 2 to the 6th. I'm going to sub it in. So I've got a bunch of 2's. How many do I got there? 6. I believe that should give me 64. Okay, now they're getting real complicated, but everything's the same. Let me see. Yeah. No, I don't like that. Okay, so subbing in a 4 wherever there was an x. Okay, let's tidy this up. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally says I got to do this exponent first. So that gets me 16. Okay, now we've got multiplication even though the dot isn't there. When they're sitting next to each other, that's multiplication. So we're going to go left to right. So I'm going to do this one. Okay, now I'm going to do this multiplication. So I've got 32 plus 12 plus 8. Now addition's tied. I'm going to go left to right and get 44 plus 8. Add these up. Get 52. Okay, subbing in here, replacing it with a 3. All right, exponents come first. So 3 times 9. Now we have multiplication in 2 spots. We're going to go left to right. Got another multiplication to still take care of. Okay, put those together, I get 39 plus 1. So we're going left to right, so I added these first. Gets me 40. Okay, 7 and a 2. Okay, exponents first. So 6 times 4. Okay, we got 2 multiplications, left to right. Okay, second multiplication. Now, subtraction's tied, we're going to go left to right. There's my answer. Okay, so that was our section on Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. I didn't know when it was coming, but there it was. So remember, grouping symbols, if you have multiple grouping symbols, like brackets, parentheses, you got to work all the way inside the house and work your way out.